Good afternoon. As the Secretary of the Energy and Environmental Markets Advisory Committee, it is my pleasure to call this meeting to order. The meeting today is bittersweet as it will be the last under the sponsorship of Commissioner Mersinger. This is our 7th meeting, and I want to give a big thank you to our AV and comms team. No matter if we're completely virtual, hybrid, on-site, off-site, everything technologically wise has gone off without a hitch, and that has been greatly appreciated. I would also like to thank Dina Wiggins for serving as the EMAC chair. I would also like to thank Tim Fitzgerald and Ian Lang for serving as the chairs of the 2 subcommittees. And of course, welcome all of our members and associate members. As I said, today's meeting is taking place virtually. So to ensure that the meeting goes as smoothly as possible and the recording of the meeting is complete and accurate, please note the following. If you would like to be recognized during the discussion for a question or comment or any technical assistance, please use the Zoom chat, and either Dina or I will see that and recognize you. Please identify yourself before you begin speaking and signal when you're done speaking. Speak directly into your phone or into whatever audio equipment you have in front of you. Unmute your Zoom video before you speak and mute after you speak. Please only use your camera when you are speaking. And then if you're disconnected from Zoom, please close your browser and enter Zoom again using the link that you previously received for today's meeting. Before we begin this morning's discussion, or this afternoon's discussion, I would like to turn to Commissioner Mersinger for her opening remarks.
Thank you, Lauren, and good morning and welcome everyone to the final meeting of the EMAC under my sponsorship. Before we get started, I want to thank all of you for taking this journey with me over the last 2.5 years. And it's definitely been a journey, and I'm sure none of you envisioned hard hats and safety goggles as a requirement of serving on EMAC. But as you all know, it was important for me and to get the committee out of Washington and physically see and experience the infrastructure and operations central to the derivatives markets and the CFTC. From the first meeting, we were focused on 2 areas: physical infrastructure of the energy markets and the importance of critical metal markets in transition energy, and specifically in electrification. We stayed on task and remained focused on these issues throughout every EMAC meeting in our tour. We started in Cushing, Oklahoma, where the WTI crude oil contract settles, to see the largest pipelines and storage facilities in the U.S. I know I was very impressed by those who manage the intricacies of storing, blending, and moving the oil to locations throughout the country, and realized that the true complexity of building and maintaining the infrastructure and what it takes to achieve these critical functions. I was just impressed by those involved with it and their efforts to make sure that this infrastructure worked properly. Our next trip, as you probably remember, we headed to a large EV production facility in Spring Hill, Tennessee. There, we learned about the challenges and concerns of auto companies in being able to produce cost-competitive vehicles, and we got a firsthand glimpse at how important the precious metals markets are in electrification. Our next stop was southwest of Salt Lake City, Utah, where we toured the Bingham Canyon copper mine, the largest man-made excavation in the world. It's also the world's deepest open pit mine, and it has produced more copper than any other mine in the world. However, we learned about the challenges around the precious metals markets, and that although the U.S. has abundant supplies of copper, much of the copper mined in the U.S. must be shipped overseas to be processed and refined due to a lack of domestic smelting capacity. In Golden, Colorado, we further explored the precious minerals and metals markets. We toured the facility of a company that uses cutting-edge technology to turn mine waste into critical metals and minerals. And our final stop was in Kansas City, where we toured an innovative thermal energy plant that uses steam and chilled water to provide heating and cooling services to a section of the city's downtown. In addition to the facility tours, we also had numerous thought-provoking presentations throughout the 6 EMAC meetings. We talked about the lack of pipeline capacity in New England and the price anomaly it creates in the natural gas market. We talked about electrification and the increased renewable and intermittent energy production on the electric grid and the FTR market. We talked about the growth of and the potential stress on CFTC regulated metals markets due to increase in electric vehicle production in the US. And we talked about the current and future power needs and the role of the derivatives market in facilitating the expansion of energy markets, the potential roadblocks to opening new mines and mineral processing facilities in the US, and the effects on developing derivatives markets, just to name a few things that we talked about. Which takes us to today. Today is really a culmination of all the EMAC's work and diligence. The experiences each of you brought to EMAC and the knowledge and insight gained during each meeting and the unique perspective from everyone on EMAC and from the operations we toured, all of that informed and reflect today in today's subcommittee work products that we'll hear about. First, we're going to hear from Dr. Tim Fitzgerald, chair of the EMAC Physical Energy Infrastructure Subcommittee. The subcommittee studied the state of the infrastructure in multiple physical energy markets and the effect on related derivatives markets. The result of the committee's work is an extremely informative and detailed report highlighting the connection between physical and financial markets and how comprehending energy markets now and in the future requires a detailed understanding of the current infrastructure and the contemporary choices about investment in new infrastructure. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Ian Lang, chair of the EMAC role of metals and markets and transitional energy subcommittee. The subcommittee examined how metals and minerals markets play a critical role in new energy sources and in electrification. The subcommittee's report was masterful in explaining the history of the metals and minerals markets and in addressing the challenges around these markets. The report serves as a solid foundation for enhancing the understanding of these markets and for formulating meaningful regulation and regulatory strategies. Thank you again for the invaluable contributions and dedication of all the EMAC members. And a special thank you to the staff who helped make all this possible, especially John Mark Buffa and Lillian Cordona, and last but not least, Lauren Folks, who made my vision of EMAC on the road a reality. With that, I will turn it back to Lauren.
Thank you, Commissioner Mercinger. With that, I will turn it over to Dina for a moment.
Thank you. And thank you, Commissioner Mercinger. I am honored to be a member of the EMAC and to continue to serve as the chair of the EMAC. I want to thank Commissioner Mercinger for her sponsorship of EMAC. Commissioner, we appreciate your leadership. You have pushed us to do things we haven't done before, such as write the reports that we're going to be talking about today. You have pushed us to talk about things that we haven't talked about before. And as you noted, you've even pushed us outside of our usual comfort zone of meeting in the CFTC headquarters. So I think it's all been enlightening and informative and very interesting. On a personal note, it's really nice to meet up with another small town kid from an agricultural background. I'm not sure there are that many of us wandering around Washington, but it's been great to get to know you in this process. As we've noted before, the committee serves as an important vehicle to discuss matters of concern to hedgers, consumers, exchanges, firms, and end users within our energy and environmental markets, as well as the Commission's regulation of the markets. It brings together a diverse group of people with diverse views. And on this committee, Commissioner, we don't always agree with each other, but you have fostered a civil dialogue. And for that, I am very grateful. And I'm sure the other members of EMAC are grateful for that as well. As I said before, we really appreciate your dedication, not only to the CFTC, but particularly to EMAC. We look forward to keeping in touch with you in whatever future endeavors you pursue. And I'd like for the members of EMAC to join me in offering the Commissioner a round of applause for her hard work and her leadership and all she has done for us. Thank you so much. And now turning to today's agenda, there are going to be two panels following today's with prepared presentations, and following each panel, there's going to be an opportunity for Q&A, as well as opportunities for discussion and questions to adopt the report and recommendations of the role of metals and transitional energy subcommittee and submit the report and recommendations to the Commission for consideration. As chair, I look forward to facilitating the discussion of the associate members' perspectives to the EMAC and working with the EMAC members to provide the Commission with feedback and recommendations that assist the agency in its oversight of our markets. To ensure that today's discussion is consistent with the EMAC charter, which prohibits associate members from providing reports and recommendations directly to the commission. We will first take questions and comments from the EMAC associate members after the panelists have shared their prepared remarks. And then we will turn to the EMAC members for their questions and comments on the prepared remarks and any feedback provided by the associate members. As Lauren mentioned, please use the chat function to alert her if you have a question or a comment, and we will recognize you as a speaker after receiving your notification. But before we begin, we would like to do a roll call of the members and associate members. So we have your attendance on the record. And Lauren, will you lead the roll call for us, please?
Of course. Thank you, Dina. EMAC members, after I say your name and organization, please indicate that you are present. Please make sure that you are not muted. And if we're unable to hear your response, you can use the chat function to indicate that you're here. Rob Kramer, FIA PTG.
Present.
Kara Duda, ICE Futures US.
Present.
Dimitri Carusos, Nodal Exchange.
Present.
Bill McCoy, Morgan Stanley.
Present.
Jamila Parachi, Life Powered.
Present.
Jackie Roberts, Public Service Commission of West Virginia. Derek Salmon, CME Group.
Present.
Tyson Slocum, Public Citizen.
Present.
And of course, Dina Wiggins. Thank you. EMAC associate members, after I say your name, please indicate that you are present. Matt Agan, American Gas Association.
Present.
Oh.
Sorry, President. That took me a second. Sorry.
Bob Anderson, Committee of Chief Risk Officers. Sneh Habagri, OTC Global Holdings.
Present.
Greg Broussard, Cargill. Paul Sissio, Industrial Energy Consumers of America.
Present.
Frank Hayden, Calpine Corporation.
Present.
Paul Hughes, Southern Company. John Melby, Expansive.
Present.
Dustin Meyer, American Petroleum Institute. John Murphy, Mizuho Securities, USA.
Present.
Melinda Prudencio, the Energy Authority.
Present.
Sarah Tamalti, BP Energy.
Present.
Jeff Walker, ACES. Thank you. I will now turn the meeting back over to Dina.
Thank you, Lauren. Our first panel today will discuss the report written by the EMAC Physical Energy Infrastructure Subcommittee, and we will hear from Dr. Tim Fitzgerald, the chair of that subcommittee. So Tim, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dina. Thank you to all the members of the subcommittee who contributed to the preparation of this report. As you've seen, there are two versions of this report. There's a sort of a full version, and then there's an abridged version. There was it's a large and expansive set of topics. There was large number of views and complex dimensions of physical energy infrastructure to discuss. I would like to thank Commissioner Mersinger and Dina Wiggins for chairing, Commissioner for sponsoring the EMAC, and Dina Wiggins for chairing the EMAC for the subcommittee's work. Lauren Folks and Lillian Cardona were both crucial to completing the report of the subcommittee, and I'd like to single out Everin Damar, who was a special government employee who contributed a tremendous amount to the final report. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tim. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to questions and comments from the associate members. Lauren, do we have anyone?
We do not.
Now, I see Paul says he has hand raised.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Paul?
Yeah, thank you very much. As a reminder, what industrial energy consumers of America, 100% of our member companies are large energy intensive manufacturers. This is steel, aluminum, chemicals, plastics, fertilizer. And those segments, paper included, consume about 80% of all of the natural gas and electricity of the entire manufacturing sector. So you understand where I'm coming from. I like the report. I'm glad you did it. I think it was admirable, but I'm afraid that from a consumer perspective, from our perspective, that's price sensitive, this misses the mark on price. And I'd like to just take maybe 2 minutes and talk about why. The number one driver of price is inventory. When inventories are high, prices are low, and vice versa. And natural gas is, another important driver is that it's so seasonal. Demand increases over 50% during the winter months. With that in mind, I'd like to make the following points. One of what the report does not cover is that LNG exports maximize their shipments during these winter months, November through March. And as capacity to export increases, it has the effect of accelerating the drawdown of inventory and increases price. This is basic supply versus demand. And so as LNG export capacity increases, the impact on price increases. And as we all know, and the report covers it, we have substantial increases in LNG capacity that's underway, probably will double in capacity between now and the end of 2028. Next point that's not covered in the report is that these LNG exports have what I'm going to call market power. These are buyers. The buyers are countries. They are insensitive to price. They will pay any price, no matter how high, even when our domestic prices, inventories are falling and prices are rising. Physical molecules, not derivatives, physical molecules will be leaving the country. And because they are price insensitive, we consumers, on the other hand, are price sensitive. We can't compete with that. And it gets worse with larger volumes. Next point. These LNG contracts, some are 5, 10, 15, 20-year contracts. They shift supply and price risk from these countries to the domestic consumer. Next point, higher LNG volumes have the strong potential to link the domestic prices to the higher prices of the international marketplace. We have every indication to believe that as LNG export volumes increase, that linkage will increase, and that will have the effect of increasing domestic prices. As that happens, what we're doing is reducing the relative competitiveness of the U.S. manufacturing sector. And that has implications for the manufacturing sector, for jobs, for investment, and our competitiveness and our ability to supply the products for retail, industrial, and also national defense products. So thank you very much for this opportunity to make a few comments.
Thank you,
Thank
Paul.
you, Paul.
Does anyone else have any comments of the associate members? Do you see anyone, Lauren?
No, but please use the chat function instead of the raising hand function because I can't see everyone's boxes. So anyone else has any comments, associate members, please use the chat.
All right.
I'm not seeing any.
I don't see any either. So let's move to the EMAC members. Are there any EMAC members who have any comments to make?
Tyson.
Hi, thank you so much. So first, I just want to thank Tim for the enormous amount of work that went into producing this very comprehensive report. I also want to thank Commissioner Mersinger for her wonderful leadership, and again for thinking so outside the box and getting folks outside of DC. I'm really grateful, and of course to all of her staff, including you, Lauren, for all of the great work that you've done. So the report is excellent. I do want to echo and uplift Paul's comments that, you know, LNG exports have had a pretty dramatic impact on domestic energy markets that is going to continue to accelerate as exports continue to grow. And it is well documented across the board that we're seeing permanent uplift of domestic natural gas prices in response to record LNG exports. And I think that's something that should be highlighted a little more in the report. Again, I understand that there's a lot in the report, that a lot of work went into it, and I'm grateful for everyone's efforts. And I think there's a couple of other observations that I have. One is, I don't think that the report treats the issue of permitting for infrastructure very fairly. I think that there are a lot of community and other important variables that go into permitting, and the report sort of implies that there is a problem and an impediment in the permitting process to getting new infrastructure in place. And I'm not sure that that's an accurate representation. And I think it's important to underscore that you know, the Fifth Amendment of the U.S. Constitution enshrines and makes very clear about due process rights for property owners, that it is not just up to an infrastructure project developer to unilaterally decide what is in the public interest, that this is a shared interest among all folks in the system, including the landowners and community members that are being asked to host these facilities for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I'm not seeing that balance is adequately reflected in the report. Again, it's a difficult issue, but I think it's important to note that I don't necessarily see community organizations and landowners raising constitutionally protected challenges as a problem. I see it as an essential part of our energy infrastructure system. I think the report doesn't adequately address the fact that leading oil company CEOs are publicly saying that shale production of crude oil is plateauing and is set to enter a period of decline. And that is an incredibly important development that I don't think enough policymakers are focused on. And it is an incredibly important aspect of the shale revolution that it appears to be relatively short-lived. And I think an impression of the report could be that the increases of shale production are going to continue into the foreseeable future. And I don't think that is a reasonable conclusion based upon the mounting evidence that we've got. And I would say a last comment, and again, none of my comments are meant to be criticisms of anyone's work. I'm very grateful for all of the hard work that went into this. These are just some thoughts about the report. But there are certain aspects of market pricing dynamics in futures markets, particularly when it comes to oil, that have exposed a number of inefficiencies that I'm not sure that the report sort of glosses over and dismisses the role of speculation. And I'm not sure that that the data or research supports that conclusion. I don't see references to WTI going negative in early 2020, which was an indication of some significantly deficient market pricing aspects of the WTI contract that still have not been fully addressed. So again, I think the report has a lot of good comprehensive information. I'm grateful to the authors and all the contributors. When you're doing a comprehensive report, it's difficult to get every nuance, and I think there are some important nuances that are missing from the report. But again, I'm grateful for everyone's efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyson. Dina, I recognize you as a member and not as a chair for comment.
Thank you. You know, as I said when I was thanking Commissioner Mersinger, we on the committee have different views and different viewpoints, and I appreciate what Tyson and Paul have had to say. It might come as no surprise to anybody who knows me and knows us that they and I do not exactly see eye to eye on some of these issues. So I just wanted to offer a few comments from the perspective of the natural gas industry. I think that, as my board chairman is fond of saying, we are geologically blessed in this country with abundant supply, not only in the ground, but abundant in production. And I think that we have record production this summer. I think the last time I checked, it's hovering somewhere around 103 BCF a day, which is just amazing, thanks in large part to the shale revolution. And presently and historically, the increase of U.S. LNG exports has not had any discernible impact on domestic natural gas prices. I think the biggest impediment for all of us, for our industry and for consumers, including the manufacturing community, is the need for additional pipeline infrastructure. We desperately need more pipeline infrastructure to get our gas to market and to get it to the consumers who need it. And I can talk a little bit about permitting reform in a moment here. But the fact is that U.S. residential natural gas prices are already among the lowest in the world, driven by competitive wholesale gas prices relative to other developed countries in Europe and Asia. Since 2016, when the U.S. began exporting LNG, U.S. domestic wholesale prices have continued their downward trend, interrupted only temporarily by the combination of rapid post-COVID growth and Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. There's some S&P studies that are out there that have shown that expanding New England pipeline capacity by 6.1 BCF a day could reduce Henry Hub prices by about 20 MMBTU, 20 cents per MMBTU, and significantly lower prices across the region. Cumulative nationwide consumer savings could reach $76 billion through 2040. And as S&P LNG's impact study found, the impact of additional LNG exports on natural gas prices to 2040 would just be negligible. On permitting reform, I'm not taking away from anything that Tyson said about the rights of landowners and other interested parties, but in our view, the whole analysis of permitting projects, and I'm talking specifically about certificate applications at FERC to certificate natural gas pipeline projects, has become an unwieldy process. There is NEPA, which is designed to inform regulators about the environmental impacts of any proposed project. But these environmental impact studies have become thousands and thousands and thousands of pages long in many instances, and they have been used as a weapon in the courts to slow down, thwart, and increase the price of interstate natural gas pipeline projects. And all we are seeking through permitting reform is that the courts and the commission hew to the guidance of existing Supreme Court precedent. There's a case, it's an older case now, it's routinely called the public citizen case. that stands for the proposition that NEPA is a procedural statute and is not outcome determinative. We will be working hard with Congress once they get past reconciliation to try to bring some rationality to this process. And it's not necessarily to get to a yes for every project, but it is a effort to try to, again, bring some rationality to the process and to make sure that the process is not ever ending, so that a pipeline project that starts out at one figure doesn't end up costing multiples and many multiples of that figure by the end of the project, just because of repeated court challenges. So I just wanted to put that into our discussion as well. Lauren?
Thank you, Dina. Do any of the other members have any comments before we move on? Okay.
No?
Dina?
Are we ready to move to the next report?
Yes.
Do any of the commissioners have a question? Commissioner Mersinger?
No question, but just a quick comment, and that's to say, this discussion that we just had, this is exactly what I love about the EMAC advisory committee, the fact that we can have disagreements, but do so in a very civilized and polite manner, in a way that we recognize each other's views as well and respect each other's views. So I'm just really appreciative to all of you and your willingness to speak up and share your thoughts on the report.
We're not shy, Commissioner.
That's
None of
good.
us.
That's
None
good.
of us. Our second panel today will discuss the report written by the EMAC Role of Metals Markets and Transitional Energy Subcommittee. And we'll hear from Dr. Ian Lang, the chair of the subcommittee. Ian?
Thank you. Yes, and I wanted to say thank you to Commissioner Mersinger and the CFTC staff for helping make this report a reality and helping guide through the process. I did also want to take a quick second to just thank Commissioner Mersinger for her generosity with her time. When 18 months ago, when they were here in Golden, Colorado, she talked with many students, and we are very appreciative of that, and it changed a lot of people's thought processes. So thank you very much for that. I also want to say thank you to the team that was with me on the subcommittee. We worked very hard to get to the report that we were at. I'm sure there were numerous eye rolls as I went down some academic rabbit hole, or tried to explain a bit about, a random metal like europium or something like that. And so they at least humored me very well, that I could tell, to get to this point. Two comments that I wanted to make on the report. Given that my experience so far had been that mineral markets are a lot less well-known than oil and gas markets, right? Mineral markets in general are much smaller, more opaque than in the energy sector, sort of necessitating having folk around who know their specifics or their intricacies. The other thing that's quite different about mineral markets than I think a lot of the energy markets is that, there's one large producer, one country that produces a lot, has a lot of market power to set the prices. And I think that leads to some uniquely suspect issues to lead to market manipulation in the prices, due to the fact that there's this one large kind of producer out there. But with that, I'll turn it over to the committee, and if needed, happy to discuss the report further.
Thank you, Ian. Are there any comments from the associate members on these remarks or on the report? Lauren, I'm not seeing anything.
Neither am I.
Okay. How about to the EMAC members? Anyone have any comments or questions? No? Commissioner?
No comments or questions. Thank you.
Okay. Based on on the report written by the EMAC Role of Metals Markets and Transitional Energy Committee, I move that the committee adopt the subcommittee's report and the recommendations, and that the committee submit the report and recommendations to the commission for consideration. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded. At this time, we'll open the floor to questions and comments from the associate members. Hearing none. I will now open the floor to questions and comments from the EMAC members. Seeing none. Not seeing any additional questions or comments, we'll now take a vote on the motion to adopt the subcommittee's report and recommendations, and that the committee submit the report and recommendations to the commission for consideration. As a point of order, a simple majority vote of the 9 present EMAC members is necessary, so I will turn it over to Lauren.
Thank you, Dina. EMAC members, when I call your name, please indicate your agreement with A, disagreement with nay, or indicate your abstention from the vote. Please remember to unmute your audio when doing so. Rob Kramer, FIA PTG.
Yay.
Rob Kramer votes yay. Caradetta, ICE Futures US.
Yay.
Caradetta votes yay. Dimitri Caruso, Snodal Exchange.
Yay.
Dimitri votes yay. Bill McCoy, Morgan Stanley.
Yay.
Bill McCoy votes yay. Jamila Parachi, Life Powered.
Yay.
Jamila votes yay. Jackie Roberts, Public Service Commission of West Virginia. The record will show she is not in attendance. Derek Salmon, CME Group.
Yay.
Derek Salmon votes yay. Tyson Slocum, Public Citizen.
Abstain.
Tyson Slocum abstains. Dina Wiggins, Natural Gas Supply Association.
Yay.
Dina Wiggins votes yay. Madam Chair, we have 7 yes votes and 1 abstention.
Thank you, Lauren. It appears that the ayes have it and the motion carries. The recommendation is to adopt the subcommittee's report and the recommendations, and the committee submit the report and recommendations to the commission for consideration. It has been approved. This concludes the work of the EMAC. Thank you to all the members and the associate members for participation and today and for the last 2 years. And Lauren, others have said it, but I want to thank you as well for all that you have done. And so I will turn it over to Lauren for closing remarks.
Thank you, Dina. I just want to thank all of the members. It's been awesome getting to know everybody and very fun going on all of our trips together. And I just, I really want to thank Commissioner Mercinger for this opportunity. It got stressful at times, making sure we had space and free libraries and all the things. But it truly has been a labor of love and one of the most interesting things I've gotten to do since being at the commission. So thank you, Commissioner Mercinger. With that, I will turn it over to you, Commissioner Mercinger, if you have any final thoughts.
I'm not sure what to say other than thank you. Thank you all for going on these trips with me, on these adventures with me, for contributing to the meetings, to these reports for sure. Thank you to Professor Fitzgerald and Professor Lang for leading the charge on these reports. I do think there's a lot of really useful and good information that I hope will benefit those who are interested in these areas of the energy market. So I wish I could think of the words that would help me say thank you and goodbye. But all I can say is I've had a great time. I've loved getting to know all of you, and I really do hope that our paths continue to cross in the future. And of course, thank you to all the staff, to Lauren, to everybody involved in making these meetings happen. It's really been an honor to sponsor this committee and to see what we were able to do as a team. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you to all of the EMAC members and associate members. This meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you all.